She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Getting the widows out. Papa said when they got a union, the men voted to start a collection for widows. 2 cents apiece went to a widow's fund every week out of the men's pay. And this was not for a pension for them, no. It was to get them out of the holler in between the mountains and back east to a family if they had any. Well, why would the miners do such a thing, or why would they even need to? Well, because the coal company had a tab at the company store, and if a miner died, it didn't mean his widow got a break. If anything, her sorrow and trouble was just beginning. I was told plainly, if a woman did not have a son, she could send it to the mine to offset the debt at the company store. She could choose to remarry one of the men from the boarding house. If neither of these 2 options were okay with her, she was told, well, you'll have to fornicate with the single men in the boarding house to pay off your debt. But she was not free to leave. The coal company also threatened to go in and pull any furniture or belongings that were being paid on a weekly plan. See, she was left in debt. She had few choices to work off that kind of debt at the company store. But Papa called it what it was, extortion. Extortion of the most despicable kind, and extortion of a grieving widow. Papa said she had a week to make her decision after burying her husband as to what she'd do about the debt. 1 week, brothers and sisters. No time to grieve. Most would remarry quickly, and this was not uncommon in those days. It was necessary. And many a young brave lad went into the mine to save his mother from such grief. See, coal company barons didn't care how management ran those mines. They knew if a miner was married or he had children, he'd be more likely to stay, not run away. He'd also be less likely to drink, and he'd be willing to work. See, Papa said the men learned how to get the women out from Mother Jones coming in and getting out without being acknowledged or recognized. The men in the union decided to treat the divine feminine with dignity by giving the widows all a choice, and they made a way for her and her children to get out, thereby giving the women other options rather than marriage to a stranger or prostitution. In the Bible, this is known as being a brother or sister's keeper. Papa said they'd purchase her and her children a railroad ticket out of the state. They'd sneak her and her children by safe house, down the creek, up a river, under alias, and help her board a train so she could slip away unnoticed. Well, this truly upset the apple cart, and the coal companies up and down Cabin Creek wasn't going to have this. But the men never feared away from transporting a woman who was widowed. This was the honorable thing they did before women's liberation. They gave a woman a chance for a different kind of life. And sometimes I wonder where this country would be today if that union had remained intact. It would have been a better world, I'm sure. For if miners began to appreciate their manhood by the way they could demonstrate protection over vulnerable members of their community, just think how that noble manhood continued to reach into other people's hearts and minds. This is the radical compassion in which I speak of. They created this radical compassion amongst themselves, for themselves, by themselves. They became creators of a new way of thinking and being. It wasn't dictated by the coal company, church's morals, or by their corporate master. And yeah, I'll do a story here soon about that company church, because I want to do a full episode about it so you'll understand what was happening inside the churches and why they didn't care for widows, what they should have been doing. But anyway, see, people back then had no remedy. They had to fill their own hearts up with righteousness, and a great usefulness, a right usefulness of their being. The miners didn't put up with wife beaters either, and I'll mention that here because Papa said if a man beat his wife or his children really badly, he'd be taken to the creek for what Papa called a cool drink of water. and more than once, he said, if needed be. He also said no one minded a man or a woman disciplining their children. It was just never to leave a bruise or a broken bone on nobody. See, miners respected women, for they heard Mother Jones, and they listened to her words. One day, men of this country will look back upon you coal miners assembled here, and they'll see men of courage, men of honor, who want a better life, who have a noble stature, men of integrity, men of dignity, men who've set their life aside for the betterment of others. These were all new words we learned from our dear mother. Commentary. My papa was selected to be on the first grand jury with women. I remember he was a bit surprised. He drove down to Charleston to request a dismissal due to his age. He was told no, he was needed in the jury deliberation room, so that if any young city slicker from downtown Charleston might open his mouth to disrespect or shut a woman down, that he'd be in the room to be able to share a little wrath of Charlie O'Neill sitting at the table. See, he respected women. His honesty, his character, his integrity was known up and down Cabin Creek. If he had a role to play for bettering the world, he would step up to the plate, you see. He was no fool. So I found him in a West Virginia Archives newspaper clipping. He's sitting there for posterity with his backbone upright in the corner in a picture. And I found it, I looked at it and I thought, yeah, he didn't initially want to be there, but I remember that. But see, I also recalled the backstory, that he was needed by the judge specifically to be sure deliberations ran smoothly. He told me once, if you was a liar on Cabin Creek, everybody knew it. If you was a thief on Cabin Creek, everybody knew it. And if you was a womanizer on Cabin Creek, everybody knew that too. It was kind of a check and balance of sorts between people. You had to be what you said you was all the time. And we was taught to walk with our shoulders back and to look people level in the eye. We was taught to say please, thank you, excuse me, if I did something like bump into you, and pardon me when you did something similar in case you didn't see me. But today, I see people on Facebook acting like honey, baby, boy, girl, sugar darling, dumpling, bless your heart. All that came out of West Virginia. No, not out of the coalfields of West Virginia. I tell you, no, none of that talking did. That talking came from slave days. We was taught to never look down on anyone and to never look up to anyone. We were to meet a person's gaze with honest intention and to say yes ma'am and yes sir were classist traits from a corporate master's desire to keep his authoritative class system intact. Yeah, show your respect. That's what they tell us. And my grandmother taught me that her parents taught her that Mother Jones said we never need say that. All we need say is please, thank you, excuse me, and pardon me. That's it. But see, I was moved away at 6, and I started first grade in an all-white school. And coming from the mountains, oh, I miss my people so much, and teachers would make fun of the way I talked, and they called me Yankee. They'd put me in the corner and stuff, and it's why I speak even today with a bit of a southern accent. But, they never truly beat the clear water out of me. They made me say yes ma'am and no ma'am. And by second grade, I sounded just like the rest of them, believe me. I was a closet southerner. But I never forgot who I was or where my people came from, for every time I'd slip and say yes ma'am back home, oh yeah, grandmother would remind me. In this family, we don't use those words. They are classes to keep you in a place you need not ever be. I remember she asked me one time, do you like the Beverly Hillbillies, Jeannie? And I said, well, yeah, I love Ellie Mae and all them animals. Yeah, but then she got real serious real quick, and I knew I was in trouble. You know why they call us hillbillies? You know why they even use words like hillbilly, moonshiner, inbred? It is only to devalue your labor. Everyone in these United States thinks the Beverly Hillbillies is funny, and they just keep laughing at us. And they can keep wages low here, pollute the river and air, and kill our men in coal mining accidents, and nobody from New York or D.C. will think or do anything about it. It is only to discriminate against you that anyone ever uses those words to "don't you forget." If anyone in Florida ever calls you a hillbilly or Yankee or any of those things again, you tell them, you're a mountaineer from West Virginia, by God. Our motto is mountaineers are always free. We were not a slave state. We take great pride in that. And sometimes the only thing that sustained me as a young child in the Deep South was a song Grandmother taught me to sing when I was away. She said, "This little light of mine." And I sang. I determined to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So please, friends, shine your light on this story by sharing it so it can be reviewed as many people have ears to hear. Please like and subscribe. It's all I ask, and I'll keep putting out more stories. And my mom said the other day, talking to her, that these stories is necessary for us to know what people went through to get us where we are today. And keep your family stories alive. Listen to the old ones and what they tell. Write it down. Recall our own struggles right here in America. It's a nation's struggle. See, we'll be happy that we did this and started talking about these things, because together we can do it. We can recall disgusting parts of labor history, like asking widows to fornicate. I just don't want to forget nothing that Papa said. It's just awful. But I'm building a better world by spreading these stories, and I hope you will too. Join me. The radical compassion. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming